We're back. PeteyMac, Greg Ehrenberg, and we appreciate you bearing with some technical issues there. So we'll pick up where we left off, Greg, and we're going to fly here. Cardinals, Nationals, Patrick Corbin. He was someone to target last time around and getting a Cardinals lineup that was terrific a night ago.
Yeah, so Patrick Corbin, by the way, we've already talked about this, you and I, because we didn't know that the show had stopped, so we just kept going. We're talking about baseball games. I'm going to
post
new to you. Yeah, it's new to the people who are watching. If they're still here, I'm posting in the YouTube chat to say that we are back and see if anybody answers. But anyway, yeah. So Patrick Corbin got absolutely lit up in his last start, gave up a million runs. And what I was saying before, right before we cut off, is that there have been some signs of decline over the last few years. We've seen a steady decline in Patrick Corbin's K rate, also his strikeout number in his K rate, and then also his velocity has gone down. So we've seen Corbin go from a guy who throws a little bit over 92 miles per hour to now he's throwing like 90 miles per hour flat. So we're looking at a 1.5 to 2 mile per hour velocity dip on his average fastball. And I think that is enough reason and cause for concern and red flags to make think that there's a real deterioration in his arm talent. So while I don't think he's going to go out and give up, like 10 runs through 2 innings every start, I don't think he's going to be a top of the line pitcher anymore going forward. The Cardinals, if you look at our top stacks tool, it does look like they're going a little bit underrepresented right now, particularly on FanDuel. So with Patrick Corbin, to me, looking like a pitcher who is not the guy he once was, and the field potentially not really being hip to that fact yet, I think the Cardinals are a team to attack again, and hopefully they're able to replicate what they did yesterday.
Yeah, and the Cardinals were very underrepresented a night ago, certainly with what they were able to put up on the board. One of the biggest edges in sports betting is always shopping to find the best line. And betting lines, they change by the minute. They could vary greatly depending on which book you're using. So it's important to use Awesemo's OddsShopper to find the best line available on the game or player prop you're betting on. It gives you that edge to help you beat the house. So head on over to oddsshopper.awesemo.com, where we compile the best bets available for game lines, player props, player and team futures, all updated in real time. Toronto-Boston, fun pitching matchup. Hyunjin Ryu, Eduardo Rodriguez going head-to-head after the Red Sox just destroyed Lucas Giolito on Patriots Day at 11 a.m.
Yeah, so I'm still not totally sure what to make of Eduardo Rodriguez. Got a late start to the year, missed all of last year with COVID, developed a heart condition. And then this year, he had what was being called a dead arm to open up the season, so he wasn't able to go on opening day. They pushed him back. He's looked fine so far, but the Toronto Blue Jays present a really difficult matchup. Not a team I really want to attack with pitchers unless we're talking about, like a Garrett Cole or Shane Bieber, one of the top-of-the-line guys. And that's not quite Eduardo Rodriguez. But Rodriguez himself is also good enough, so I don't really want to stack against him with Blue Jays hitters. And Rodriguez, to this point, has looked fine when he's actually been on the mound. And then I kind of feel the same about Hyunjin Ryu, where he's good enough to where I don't want to stack the Red Sox against him, but Ryu is not somebody I want to roster against the Red Sox lineup that's hitting really well so far this year. So, we've got a pretty full slate, particularly on DraftKings, 13 games, and then there's enough pitching options on FanDuel, and with it being a single pitcher site, that I don't feel there's a real need to target Ryu, especially when he's priced all the way up to 9,700 on FanDuel.
Then you get the Mets and the Cubs. It's going to be very cold at Wrigley, temperatures in the 30s. Taijuan Walker, I'll tell you, he's someone I've watched his starts early on this season. He's passing the eye test. And remember, this is a big-time prospect when he was coming up with, Arizona. He ended up in Seattle, Toronto. But he looks right now for the New York Mets. And obviously, their starting pitching has been very good early on this season. So we'll see what Walker could do in what I would think are pretty good conditions for a pitcher. I mean, I know it's cold. And then Jake Arrieta goes for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, so Taijuan Walker is actually one of my favorite contrarian plays on the slate. Also, Wrigley, we've got slight amount of wind blowing in. Like you said, it's cold. There's a low total in this game. But Walker, to your point, he's matched the eye test. The velocity's been really high so far to start the year. Also, somebody who we haven't seen pitch all that much recently. But given what we've seen so far, I think it's pretty promising returns. The Chicago Cubs offense has struggled so far to start the year. A team that was kind of sellers in the offseason too, so they lost, big bats like Kyle Schwarber from the offense, so the bats are a little bit less potent. I think the Cubs could kind of be sneaky bad this year. I think Taijuan Walker looks like he could be sneaky good this year. So Walker right now is picking up basically no ownership on FanDuel or DraftKings. He's a contrarian pitcher to be on, in my opinion.
And I do think there's something to be said, even when a team loses some players in the offseason or doesn't add like the Chicago Cubs, when you're still looking at the matchup, you still go, oh, the Cubs, like maybe I don't want to mess with them. But they are a team to mess with this year. And it takes a few weeks for that to click, I think.
Yeah. And then, I mean, also, if I was going to bet any game on today's slate, I'd be inclined to go with the Mets, who are slight underdogs facing the Cubs. Jake Arrieta is not a pitcher who I'm very high on at this point in his career. We've seen his velocity dip in a big way. He's given up a lot more hard contact over the last few years, and also just doesn't generate swing and miss at this point in his career. So I think the Mets should actually be favored in the spot against the Cubs. And that's not the case right now. So Taijuan Walker, I think somebody who could have a pretty decent season for New York.
The Mets have seen a lot of Arrieta over the years, pitching with the Philadelphia Phillies. So look, if you hit on Taijuan Walker tonight, tell us all about it. We love to see the successes of our Awesemo Plus members. And if you have that big night using our tools, advice, content, give us a shout on Twitter by tagging any of our hosts or Awesemo social handles. And we'll be sure to retweet it from our @AwesemoHOF account, where we compile winning screenshot shout outs from the Awesemo Plus community. Next up, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Rich Hill, Brad Keller, two pitchers trying to get right in KC, and a pretty low over-under total.
Yeah. So I just lost my train of thought for a second, but yeah. So the Tampa Bay Kansas City game, Rich Hill was somebody who I thought there was a chance he was going to really struggle this year, but I mean, he's kind of just hanging on. Like, I don't know, is Rich Hill just like, is he our generation's Jamie Moyer now? Just a guy who's found a way to, stay relevant into his 40s. Jamie Moyer pitched till he was like 47 or something like that.
Rich Hill's like out of baseball at 31 and then somehow still going at 41. Make sense of this stuff.
Well, at least in his last start, Rich Hill did finally struggle a little bit. He started the year well, and there was a slate where he was chalk, where I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to stack against Rich Hill because he's a chalky pitcher. I think he might be finished. And he ended up pitching well that day, and then really regressed last game. So overall for the season, now we're looking at somebody who has a 7.53 ERA, and once again, just the age at 41. Like, more often than not, I have to think that he is going to drop off eventually, because I think what Jamie Moyer did will probably never be replicated. And the velocity numbers too, if you just look at the average fastball velocity for Rich Hill the last couple of years he pitched, he was able to maintain it right up until he was 39 years old. When he was 39, he's throwing 90.3 miles per hour. He's sitting at 88 miles per hour now. So that's a pretty big concern. And for me to think that just he doesn't really have the ability to still be able to get these guys out at a consistent rate, still definitely a little bit tricky as a pitcher. And I think he's maybe clever enough to stick around for at least a little bit, except I tend to think he's not going to have a whole lot of success this year. So I'm going to be targeting Rich Hill, I think, quite a bit going forward.
Rich Hill's become that guy that if you're over 40, this is your last hope. The 41-year-old lefty that's hanging around and still playing big league ball.
Yeah, and then if you're looking for a contrarian offense to stack, the Royals are picking up basically no ownership right now. I mean, on DraftKings, we have them the 2% chance to be the top scoring team on the slate, only 1% ownership. And then Fanduel, actually, they look like one of the more positively leveraged teams right now, just because also Fanduel, with it being a smaller slate than DraftKings with less games, not including the 6:30, 6:40 p.m. Eastern time starts. The Royals about 4% chance being the top scoring team on the slate, but only picking up 1.9% ownership share. So all that together, I think that the Royals are a low-owned stack that have a little bit of upside there, especially if Rich Hill is just totally finished.
And I'm guessing you're not over 40, Greg, since you blew past that. You're not paying attention to these things, like who's the oldest running back still going? Frank Gore representing for the 36-year-olds out there. You're not there yet.
No, I've got I've got Frank Gore's rookie helmet. It's still just one of those, the ones with like the ear flaps, and it's just the
leather helmet.
Yeah, just the leather helmet.
One of the key games tonight, obviously Coors Field, always the major game on the slate. Are you going to assume that there's a ton of runs, or is it going to be like this weekend where you have a 2-1 Sunday game and Marcus Stroman shoves for 8 innings? So you get the Astros, the Rockies, Luis Garcia for Houston, John Gray going for Colorado. Temperatures are to be in the 30s. The Houston Astros probably haven't been around a whole lot of that of late. I mean, look, it's really just spring training, right, for everybody in Florida for a few months. But I know you love the Houston Bats on this night, and you will not be staying away from Coors Field, it sounds like.
No, Coors Field is always different. It's going to depend to me on what the ownership is and what the odds we have of them being the top scoring team on the slate. So DraftKings, like we said, we have 13 games. Almost every single team is in action tonight. And the Astros have a 20.1% chance of being the top scoring team on the slate per our top stacks tool. No other team on DraftKings has a greater than 5% chance of being the top scoring team. Then we go to FanDuel, where there's a slightly smaller slate. 25% chance for the Astros to be the top scoring team on the slate, and only picking up an 18.9% ownership share. So we're looking at a team that not only has the best odds of being the top scoring team on the slate by a mile, but also on FanDuel positively leveraged more so than any other team on the slate. So the Houston Astros, when I was doing my builds in the early going, like unless the ownership here just gets totally insane, where guys are going like 30% owned or something like that, I'm going to be overweight to the field on a bunch of these guys. I'm going to be using a ton of them as one-offs because right now we have them as the team with the best odds to be the top scoring team, and just nobody's even remotely close in second place.
Anybody in particular in this Houston lineup popping up a lot for you?
Yeah, so I think one thing that we also have to mention here is that it's unclear if Alex Bregman is going to play or not. He's been dealing with, what was the injury? It's just listed as undisclosed right now. So I guess it's COVID related, but he could potentially be back in the lineup today. But you look at these other guys, at least for their DraftKings price, like Michael Brantley, 4,600, Kyle Tucker, 4,300, Miles Straw, 2,900. Correa 4,800. It's almost like the pricing algorithm has no clue this game's taking place in Coors Field, right? Like they're just getting prices if they're playing in any other stadium. So you take that into consideration. These guys are all just way too cheap. Like the idea that Miles Straw is potentially going to be in the lineup at a 2,900 price tag on DraftKings, like that's an absurd price that makes him a really good value play. So I'm going to be really heavy on Coors Field tonight. I'm not always on Coors Field, but this is going to be one of the days I am.
And there's no reason to fear Jon Gray, right? I mean, it's not like he is some ace at Coors Field that has figured out how to conquer the thin air.
What's kind of funny is if you look at the splits for Jon Gray for his career, he's actually pitched better at home at Coors Field than on the road. But I mean, even so, he's somebody who's kind of a failed prospect. At a point in time, he was one of the top 10 or so prospects in baseball. He looked like he was the guy who's going to have enough, good enough stuff and a good enough fastball that he was going to be able to find success at Coors Field anyway. And it just hasn't been the case for him. So, no real issues targeting Jon Gray here with the Houston Astros, who are just underpriced and underowned right now, and just by far the team with the best odds of being the top scoring team.
Who's the best they've had over the years? Like Jason Jennings or something? I mean, if you're a top pick, top prospect, pitching prospect, that's not the place for you. Aaron Cook had a good little run there, I guess.
The year of Ubaldo Jimenez. Remember, he pitched a no-hitter at Coors Field.
Yeah.
And then also he had 1 year where he was really good. And then they traded him off for like a pretty decent haul, if I remember correctly. And then he just sucked everywhere else he went. Like he had a couple years. He had a couple years where he was okay, except his best years came when he pitched at Coors Field. But at least in recent memory, that's the most successful pitcher I can remember them having.
No, Ubaldo, I mean, definitely top end for a short period of time. Ubaldo, was that guy for them, all-star pitcher in Colorado. If you're looking to score a free Awesemo Plus pass or just want to stay up to date on DFS news and Awesemo offerings, make sure to follow all of our Awesemo social media channels on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, and join our Awesemo Fans Facebook group as well. We run exclusive giveaways for each platform to maximize your chances of winning by following each one. All right, 2 games to go, 10 minutes to play with on the show here. Texas going up against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. The Angels were a big stack last night. Kind of hit, 4 runs against Texas. But Shohei Ohtani on the hill will not be in the order for the Angels, and Jordan Lyles going for Texas here. Yeah,
so Ohtani's an interesting one from the standpoint of first, he's going to be hitting, I presume, again, and he's going to be hitting and pitching. Last time he started, he hit second. He also pitched. The velocity looked really good, and it looked really good in the preseason too. And right now we look at his salary. He is $9,000 on FanDuel. That is, to me, about reasonable. But then on DraftKings, he's priced all the way down to $7,500. And I don't know what to make of Ohtani as a pitcher this year. He's hit the ball really well. And is he going to be, if you tell me that he's going to be a guy who's a hitter only by the end of the season, I'm not totally shocked by that outcome. If you tell me that he's one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball at the end of the season, I'm not totally shocked by that outcome either. I think there's a really wide range of things we could see here with Ohtani. So, I mean, for that reason, I look at him. 9,000 on FanDuel, not really a high priority play, but at 7,500 on DraftKings. By the way, we're only projecting him for 2% ownership right now in a really positive matchup against the Rangers. Yeah, I'm going to be very interested in Ohtani at that kind of price. And Maybe a little bit of concern with him going forward. Are they going to be, strict with his pitch counts, especially because he had to leave last game early with that collision at home plate where he rolled his ankle? But if he's really going to be 2% owned at 7,500 on DraftKings going up against the Rangers offense, he's going to have to be a priority play for me.
And what about that Rangers offense? Everyone was going against him last night with Dylan Bundy, and it looked great for 5 innings. And in the 6th, all of a sudden, the Rangers put 5 runs up against them.
Yeah, not a team that I'm going to be interested in, because I still believe overall in the talent of Ohtani. That and the velocity. I mean, he was regularly hitting triple digits in the preseason. We saw his velocity get up in his first start to the point where in the same inning he threw the hardest pitch of the season to that point, and also hit the hardest ball of the entire season on a long home run in his first start. So
that was amazing. Did that in the Sunday Night Baseball spotlight. That's. Baseball needs a little bit more of that, a little that kind of star power. It's such a unique thing. I mean, you have to go back to like Babe Ruth when you had somebody who was this talented and allowed to play both sides of the ball in this way.
Or talking about Rockies pitchers, Garrett Hampton.
Garrett Hampton.
Wasn't it Hampton?
Oh, Mike Hampton.
Mike Hampton.
Yeah, he can hit a little bit.
Yeah, I think he had a year where he hit like 15 homers or something like that. I was thinking I mixed him up with Garrett Hampton, but yeah. So yes. Mike Hampton, I'm going to bring up his hitting numbers really quick.
I don't think he ever hit 15 homers in a season, but he could hit. He was a real athlete.
Let's see, because we had a bunch of games here and we were really cruising through it. So I think we were a little bit.
We could play around.
We thought we were going to be a little bit more pressed for time than we did, but yeah, I remember Mike Hampton having a couple of really good hitting years. This was also forever ago. I was a kid at that point in time, but let's see, he hit. Oh, he had it was 2001. He hit 7 homers. He had a 106 WRC plus though. Like he had some like legitimate years where he was actually a plus hitter at the plate. He had a 582 slugging percentage that year. So he had years 1999. He had a 111 WRC plus. 2001 a 106 WRC plus. 2002 a 112 WRC plus. So somebody was actually valuable at the plate and produced like a win with his bat as in addition to whatever he did while he was pitching. So. That would be the last guy who was able to do.
Madison Bumgarner was scary for a little while too, but he never got the opportunity. Like these guys didn't get the opportunity to actually hit regularly in the lineup. I mean, it's unbelievable what Ohtani is able to do. I mean, to pitch and DH in the same game is entirely unique. It's too bad he's not in the National League. That's really something we're kind of robbed of, I think.
No, I mean. He's so unique though, right? And actually, here's why I totally disagree with you about it'd be better if he's in the National League. If he's in the National League, that means he's only playing once a week because he doesn't play in the field.
Well, you could play him in the outfield, I suppose.
But you don't want
him. They don't want him.
You don't want him playing in the outfield, and then he has to pitch the next day and have to throw and whatnot. So
so he wouldn't be able to play as much. All right, fair enough. I'd like to see it though. I mean, come on, just man up. Let's get it done. How about Albert Pujols last night stealing bases? Stole third base in the front end. So that was a 5-point gift if you ended up with Pujols as part of your Angels stack a night ago. All right, and finally, Brewers Padres. Not expecting a whole lot of runs here. The over/under down to 7. It's like old school Petco Park. Corbin Burns has been terrific for Milwaukee after they threw Woodruff last night. Chris Paddock goes for San Diego. Joe Musgrove had a big start last night. I think it was 13 strikeouts, career high for Musgrove. So I don't think, unless you're going contrarian, not a whole lot of bats here to be jumping on.
No, so with the Brewers side, Chris Paddock might just not be good. Like he's right now very popular as an SP2 or he's very popular as a cheap option on Fanduel. Only 6,900. He's the most popular pitcher by far. So we have in the current ownership projections, Chris Paddock is projecting for 32% ownership on Fanduel with only a 9% chance of being the top scoring pitcher on the slate. On DraftKings, where the pricing is a little bit different, Chris Paddock's all the way up at 10,000. So people just aren't rostering him at a 10K price tag. But Chris Paddock, when he first broke onto the scene in the big leagues, I thought he was going to be a future Cy Young type guy. Like there was the big debate, who should be the rookie of the year, him or Pete Alonso. And Alonso was having a year where, he hit over 50 homers as a rookie. So, I mean, the two of them looked like they were going to be, future cornerstones of the league. And Chris Paddock has been fairly miserable ever since then. Like,
they were yakking at each other. I think Alonso hit a home run off of Paddock. And then that seemed to send him in the wrong direction for whatever reason.
when Dinelson Lamet gets healthy for the Padres, I don't even know that Paddock is going to stick in the rotation for them. So I understand the Brewers lineup right now is absolutely awful, especially with Yelich injured. They've, I mean, Joe Musgrove struck out everybody last night, but I mean, going forward until Yelich gets healthy, I think the lineup could be really bad, but I don't know that Chris Paddock is any good right now. He's really struggling to generate swing and misses. I'm going to bring up his full numbers for the year. And it's something that goes back to last year also. He just had a really hittable fastball. And I don't know what the issue has been that's caused the decline, but yeah, so far to start the year, he's only striking out 6.92 hitters per 9 innings, walking 4.15 hitters. Last year, he had a 4.73 ERA, a 5.17 expected ERA, a 5.02 FIP. Like, I don't know what happened for Chris Paddock between that first and second year, but I'm looking for leverage here. And if he's really going to end up being the most popular pitcher on FanDuel and just way overpriced on DraftKings, just people aren't going to be rostering the Brewers at all, I'm willing to stack against him just based on the ownership there.
All right, so taking a shot against Paddock and see if you can, was it Luis Urias hit the home run last night? He gets hurt going around the bases. So it's been that kind of year for Milwaukee thus far, but you got to take a shot. Free content on Awesemo today, NBA player rankings, NHL player and top stack rankings, and MLB ownership projections, which again, we're referencing throughout the show. It's vital information and it is free today at awesemo.com. So in review, the big decisions, are you going in on Luis Castillo, who we expect to be very widely owned?
We skipped something very important there. Corbin Burnes starting for the Corbin Burnes starting for the Brewers. Corbin Burnes, who I think might be the second best pitcher in baseball right now behind Jacob deGrom. Corbin Burnes, who always has had terrific stuff, but struggled with his command for a little while, which is what ultimately led to the Brewers taking him out of their rotation when he was a younger pitcher, and then ended up getting sent back down to the minor leagues. But right now, as a guy, if he's going to continue to throw strikes, and by the way, he's not issued a walk this entire season yet. Corbin Burnes, 3 starts, he's striking out 14.73 hitters per 9 innings, no walks. That is why he has a minuscule 0.49 ERA. So if he's going to keep throwing strikes, Corbin Burnes is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think that he's right up there with Jacob deGrom, right behind Jacob deGrom at the moment, as potentially the second best pitcher in baseball. So Corbin Burnes, really tough matchup against the Padres. I don't care. I'm going to be rostering Corbin Burnes.
Wow, blowing past Garrett Cole and Max Scherzer and whoever else you want to throw in that mix.
Corbin Burnes, that's my guy.
That's your guy. And, for San Diego, look, Fernando Tatis Jr. he hasn't been right since come back from that shoulder injury. Just because you're healthy enough to play doesn't mean you're healthy enough to succeed. Yeah.
And I brought this up yesterday also. When he was back in the lineup on Saturday, I was like, really? I just thought he was going to be out for a while. It was something like I hadn't really read reports like the return was imminent or whatever. I was, people were comparing that to the Conforto injury and the shoulder, something I can't pronounce, subluxation or something like that.
Yes.
I didn't say that correctly, but it doesn't. What does it matter? I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not diagnosing. But either way, I was like, oh, he's going to be out for a minute, and then all of a sudden he was just back. He did homer in that first game, but yeah, he struggled a little bit since then, and I agree with you. I don't know that he's totally 100% healthy.
He's got such a wicked follow through. I mean, you feel that shoulder wrenching every time. You got to have confidence that shoulder is going to be right. And if you bring up Conforto stunk for a long time after dealing with the shoulder issues. That's something that can linger for a long time, especially a rush back. And Tatis sitting 118 right now.
Yeah. Also, I have Corbin Burnes at 40-1 to win NL Cy Young, so I would be pretty stoked if that actually ends up coming through and he wins. He is the second betting favorite behind deGrom right now. So let's go Corbin Burnes. I'm going to be rostering with DFS. I have futures invested in him. He's my guy right now.
I'd say hot take, but you're backing it up. It doesn't even feel that hot anymore after hearing your love for Corbin Burnes. But there you go. So 13 games on the DraftKings slate. I think it's 8 on FanDuel. You got to start early on DraftKings with 6:30, so keep that in mind. Luis Castillo, one of the big ones. And what are you going to do at Coors Field? Always one of the big questions on the given night. Anything else that really stands out about this slate overall?
No, I mean, just in summation, if I'm paying up for a pitcher, Corbin Burnes is the guy. If I'm going cheap, I like Luis Castillo as an SP2 a whole bunch on DraftKings. And then top stack, it's the Houston Astros for me. Like we said, we have them with an over 20% chance of being the top scoring team on the slate on both FanDuel and DraftKings. FanDuel, they're going woefully under-owned right now. We have them with the best positive leverage score on our top stacks tool. And then on DraftKings, even we have 13 games because we're taking the 6:30 and 6:40 Eastern time start games into account for. Still there, we have Houston with a 20.1% chance of being the top scoring team on the slate. And there's not a single other team with the odds greater than 5% of being the top scoring team. So Houston Astros just so much more likely to be a top scoring team on the slate. So for me, also, they're underpriced on DraftKings for being played at Coors Field. So I'm going to be really high on Houston.
That's one to jump on, certainly, as you look ahead. But thanks for bearing with us through some technical issues on this show today. We very much appreciate it. And, of course, we have so much more content coming up throughout the day here on the Awesemo YouTube channel. You got the PGA Strategy Show coming up an hour from now, NHL Strategy Show at 2 Eastern, the tip-off at 3:30 Eastern, and then MLB Live Before Lock at 4:30. Thanks for joining. Best of luck tonight. I'm PeteyMac, Greg Ehrenberg, producer Chris Karen. Happy stacking.